To the average rider, walking into a dealership looks like motorcycle heaven. You're thinking, damn, this place must be killing it. Dozens of shiny bikes, brand new models in every color, and sales guys with big grins. It feels like a business on fire. And it is, just not in the good way. Behind that glimmering glass and polished chrome lies one of the dirtiest secrets in the industry. None of these bikes are owned by the dealer, not even close. That showroom full of motorcycles is basically a collection of high-interest IOUs with handlebars. Today, we're going to delve into the terrible truth about dealerships and overpriced motorcycles no one knows about. If you want to know about other secrets in the motorcycle industry or just love bikes, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps me keep putting out important information like this to keep you informed on what's going on in the industry. The showroom mirage. Welcome to the wonderful world of floor planning, a fancy term for we borrowed a ton of money to fill the showroom and now we're drowning in interest. Dealers finance almost all their inventory through specialized loans. It's like a revolving credit line for motorcycles where each bike represents a monthly payment waiting to punch them in the gut. And the interest ain't cheap. These floor plan loans often come with sky-high rates, especially when interest rates in general are climbing like a 450cc dirt bike on Red Bull. The moment a motorcycle hits that polished tile floor, the clock starts ticking. Every day it sits unsold is another day the dealer is paying for the privilege of storing someone else's bike. But wait, it gets worse. Dealers still have to pay insurance to protect that inventory. They're paying rent for all that prime retail space. Then there's employee time. Someone has to uncrate, inspect, clean, shine, and babysit that bike for months. Add it all up and what you've got isn't a profitable business. It's a financial time bomb dressed up like a showroom. And unlike retail stores like Best Buy or Walmart, motorcycle dealerships can't just slap a return label on a stack of unsold bikes and ship them back to Honda or Harley. Once they place the order, they're married to that inventory. No backsies. The 60-day countdown. Here's something the sales guy will never say out loud. We need this bike gone yesterday, or we're eating ramen all month. Because once a bike hits 60 days without a buyer, the dealership stops seeing it as inventory and starts seeing it as a problem. Most people don't realize this, but dealerships operate on very tight timelines. There's a golden window, roughly 60 to 90 days, where a bike is considered fresh, exciting, and likely to sell at or near MSRP. Once that window closes, that bike becomes a financial leech. Every single day a motorcycle sits unsold, it costs the dealership money. We're talking floor plan interest, insurance premiums, overhead, depreciation, and staff labor just to keep the thing dust-free. And here's the kicker. None of these costs stop piling up just because nobody's buying. This is why you'll often see dealerships quietly start discounting bikes around the 60-day mark. They're not just being generous, they're not in a giving mood. They're trying to stop the bleeding before it becomes a full-on financial hemorrhage. And the longer a bike sits, the uglier it gets. Let's break it down. Say a dealer brings in a 2024 Yamaha MT-09. Great bike. MSRP is $9,799. It sits for 30 days? No big deal. At 60 days, they're getting antsy. At 90 days, the price quietly drops a few $100. By 120, that thing might be advertised with free gear or 0% financing or manager special, all code for we're in trouble, please just take it. Now multiply that by 30 or 40 bikes sitting too long and you've got a dealership on the verge of panic. And it's not just about the bike itself. As newer models hit the market, last year's unsold stock becomes even harder to move. Even if the only difference is a new paint job or a minor tech update, consumers always want the latest. That makes old inventory look stale. To make matters worse, every unsold unit takes up space that could have gone to a better selling model. Dealerships are in a constant balancing act. Order too few, you miss out on sales. Order too many, and you're stuck with showroom anchors that drag your whole business down. What really grinds the gears of small dealerships is that they're required to order a minimum number of bikes from manufacturers just to keep their franchise. It doesn't matter if they know a certain model won't sell well in their market, they still have to take it. So a dealer in Ohio might be forced to take 10 adventure bikes that nobody in their town wants just to keep getting the cruisers and sport bikes that do move. And guess what? Once those adventure bikes sit past 90 days, it's a full-blown game of economic survival. By the time that bike hits the 180-day mark, the dealership might be losing hundreds, if not thousands, on each sale just to get it off the floor. And it's not because the bike isn't good, it's because the costs of not selling it are worse than the loss they take when it finally goes out the door. So yeah, if you've ever wondered why some dealerships seem overly eager, why they're throwing in free helmets, jackets, oil changes, or gift cards, it's not just salesmanship, it's survival. Forecast failures. Now, how do we even get to this point where bikes are stacking up like unsold Christmas fruitcakes? One word: forecasting. aka educated guessing in a suit. See, manufacturers like Honda, Yamaha, and Ducati don't just throw darts at a whiteboard to decide what to build. Well, not officially. They invest millions into product planning, analytics, focus groups, and trend forecasting to predict what riders will want next season. They're reading spreadsheets like tarot cards, watching social media trends like teenagers, and probably have a guy whose whole job is to monitor the #CafeRacer hashtag on Instagram. And sometimes they get it laughably wrong. Take electric motorcycles, for example. Back in 2019, companies like Zero and Harley-Davidson thought they'd struck gold. The future was supposed to be silent, battery-powered, and eco-friendly. Harley launched the Livewire, and boardroom charts predicted electric would outsell gas bikes by 2025. Well, it's 2025 now, and guess what? The only thing those bikes are selling is anxiety to dealers who can't move them. Most buyers still want to hear their engine snarl like a rabid wolf, not hum like a Dyson vacuum. That Livewire might ride great, but at $22,000, it's been sitting longer than leftovers in the back of your fridge. And then came the adventure bike gold rush. Manufacturers got high on the idea that everyone wanted to be Ewan McGregor in long way round. KTM, BMW, Harley, Ducati, they all pumped out tall, burly, over-equipped ADV bikes that looked ready to cross the Sahara. But here's the kicker. Most buyers weren't looking to conquer the Andes, they just wanted something comfy to hit the back roads on Sunday. Turns out, trying to sell a 600-pound, $22,000 motorcycle to a guy who just wants to grab tacos is a tough pitch. And let's not even talk about the color decisions. Some genius at Kawasaki greenlit brown motorcycles in 2020. That's right, brown. Like melted chocolate with a midlife crisis. Nobody bought them. They looked like they were camouflaged for a mudslide. Meanwhile, Ducati dropped a bright yellow Panigale that Italians adored, except American riders collectively said nah and ran straight to the matte black versions with a 6-month waiting list. But here's the real kicker. Once these factory decisions were made, there's no reversing course. The bikes ship, the dealers get them, and if the forecasts were wrong, tough cookies. Dealers are left holding the bag, praying someone walks in looking for a mustard-colored super sport that guzzles gas like a Hummer on a track day. Forecasting isn't just guessing, it's guessing with million-dollar consequences. One viral post, one economic dip, one influencer saying cruisers are out, nakeds are in, and boom, thousands of units become yesterday's news. And dealers, they don't get to opt out of these bad predictions. They get sent whatever the factory builds. It's like being forced to host a party with food no one wants to eat, music no one likes, and you still have to smile and act like it's a great time. The slippery slope of desperation discounts. Alright, so now you've got a dealership full of misforecasted, overpriced motorcycles that nobody asked for. What do? You start doing what every desperate seller does. You drop the price and hope someone takes the bait. But this isn't your typical Black Friday 10% off kind of thing. No, this is a strategic, calculated price-cutting bloodbath, and it plays out in waves. Wave 1 is gentle, maybe a $500 discount, a manager special, or a free helmet thrown in to sweeten the deal. They're still trying to save face, still pretending everything's fine. This phase is all about nudging people who are already on the fence. Wave 2 is when things get serious. At around the 120-day mark, you'll see 10 to 15% off MSRP, factory rebates, interest-free financing, or bundle deals that include free maintenance, extended warranties, or $1,500 in accessories. This is less sales pitch and more please for the love of two-stroke Jesus, take this bike. But by wave 3, when that bike has sat for 180 days or longer, it's full-on fire sale mode. Dealers start cutting prices so deep they're practically paying you to take the thing. I've seen leftover sport bikes marked down to less than what the dealership paid for them, just to clear floor space and stop the monthly financial beatdown. And here's the best part, you can spot it. All those juicy offers stacked together, rebates, 0% financing, free gear, bonus cash. It's not generosity, it's a dealership crying for help in retail language. They're not trying to make a profit anymore, they're just trying not to sink. And manufacturers, they'll step in too, because if enough dealers collapse, everyone's screwed. So they offer dealer cash, conquest bonuses like get someone to trade a Yamaha for a Suzuki and get $1,000, employee pricing programs, and even warranty extensions worth thousands. It all sounds great for the buyer, but for the dealer, it's a balancing act. They have to slash prices enough to sell bikes, but not so much that customers who paid full price last month come back angry. No one wants to deal with an irate rider screaming, "I just paid $3,000 more for this exact bike, and now you're giving away free tires?" That's why price drops often happen across the board. One dealer cuts deep, and others follow suit within days. It's a domino effect. Bottom line, By the time you're seeing big discounts, it's not generosity, it's survival. That dealer isn't smiling because they love giving deals. They're smiling because you showing up might have just saved their floor plan interest payment for the month. Turning new into used. Now, when price cuts stop working, and they eventually will, dealers reach deep into their bag of tricks, and one of their best, most brilliant, most borderline sneaky moves, rebranding brand new motorcycles as used. So let's say you've got a 2023 Yamaha MT-09 SP that's been sunbathing under the fluorescent lights for 180 days. No bites. Nobody's calling. It's basically become showroom wallpaper. At this point, slapping another $500 discount on it won't change anything. So what do? Simple. They convert it into a demo. Maybe it gets lent out to a few service customers for a week. Maybe the sales manager lets techs take it out for lunch runs. Doesn't matter how, it racks up just enough miles, say 300 to 500, to legally qualify as used. Boom. The second that odometer rolls past a couple hundred miles, the shackles come off. Now it's no longer constrained by manufacturer pricing rules, franchise agreements, or minimum advertised pricing. That same MT-09 that was stuck at $11,599 new can now be advertised as a lightly used demo special at $9,499 with a straight face. Nothing's wrong with the bike, it's essentially showroom fresh, but now that it's used, they can slash the price all they want without getting nasty calls from corporate. And here's the crazy part, it works. Customers see demo bike with 300 miles, full warranty, $2,000 off, and they pounce. It feels like a steal, and technically it is. But the final boss of this whole game is the Certified Pre-Owned program. This is marketing genius. The dealer takes a bike that's never seen a proper owner, puts a 150-point inspection on it, adds a factory-backed warranty, and sells it as a premium used bike, and people eat it up. It feels safer, more affordable, and you're getting what's essentially a brand new bike, just with a couple of bug guts on the headlight. The end result? Dealers offload their aging inventory, the manufacturer avoids public price drops, and you walk out with a killer deal on a bike that probably hasn't even had its first oil change. It's a win-win-win, unless you're the guy who bought it new for full price 3 months earlier. The dealer swap network. Alright, so what happens when a bike just isn't selling, and no amount of discounts, demos, or clever rebranding is moving the needle? Simple, ship it somewhere else and hope somewhere there wants it. Here's the thing. Just because a bike won't sell in Phoenix doesn't mean it won't fly off the floor in Portland. Every region has its quirks. What's collecting dust in New Jersey might be pure gold in New Mexico. Dealers know this, and that's why they've built entire informal networks, private Slack channels, Facebook groups, and dealer forums dedicated to swapping bikes between stores. It's like Tinder for motorcycles. Swipe left on that leftover adventure bike, swipe right on the naked bike you need, and hope there's a match. Sometimes the swaps are simple, like for like. Other times, it's full-on bartering. One dealer might trade 3 slow-moving Ducati Scramblers to a mountain town shop in Colorado in exchange for a multistrada and a side of cash. It sounds wild, but it happens all the time. And don't think this is just small-town hustle. Big dealer groups, the ones that own stores across multiple states, have mastered this game. Let's say Freedom Power Sports has 4 dealerships in Texas and 3 in California. If their cruisers aren't moving in California but selling like churros in Texas, they just load them up and send them east. No need to ask permission, no negotiating, it's all in the family. Now, transporting motorcycles isn't cheap. Shipping one bike across the country runs between $600 and $900 depending on the carrier and timing. But compare that to the $200 a month in floor plan interest they're paying just to let it sit, and suddenly that shipping fee sounds like a bargain. And here's the gamble. Even relocation isn't a guaranteed fix. Sometimes you ship a dud from Denver to San Diego, and it's still a dud. Some bikes just don't sell, no matter the zip code. When that happens, well, that's when we enter nuclear option territory. When all else fails. So, price cuts didn't work. Turning new bikes into demos didn't move the needle. Dealer swaps didn't help either. Now what? Welcome to the end of the line, the auction house. This is where bikes go when the dealership has officially run out of options and the financial pressure is more unbearable than a Sportster rider stuck in rush hour. We're talking pristine, showroom-ready motorcycles getting rolled onto shipping trucks and sent off to get sold in under 60 seconds to the highest bidder, often for pennies on the dollar. Most of this happens behind the scenes. These aren't public auctions where you can stroll in with a beer and a paddle. These are dealer-only, closed-door events, often run by companies like Manheim, and they move motorcycles like they're flipping pancakes, fast and messy. Picture this, a dealer has a 2023 Goldwing that's been sitting for 8 months. They've tried everything. Discounts, incentives, free gear, demo rides, you name it. Still no takers. They're now eating $200 a month in interest on a bike that's depreciating like a used mattress. So they send it to auction. What did it originally retail for? Around 15 grand. What does it sell for at auction? Maybe 9, if they're lucky. Brutal? Absolutely. Necessary? Unfortunately, yes. See, at some point, a bike sitting on the showroom floor becomes like milk in a hot car. It's going bad and fast. And even though taking a $3,000 to $6,000 loss hurts, it's still cheaper than continuing to pay interest, insurance, and floor space costs for another 3 months. The buyers at these auctions are not weekend warriors looking for a deal. They're independent dealerships, rental companies, exporters, and even parts recyclers. Ever rented a motorcycle on vacation and wondered where it came from? Odds are it was an unsold showroom bike someone scooped up at auction and added into a rental fleet. There's even a huge secondary market in places like South America and Southeast Asia where US models are considered premium, even if they're 2 years old. Exporters buy by the truckload. Dealers hate this step, but it's a pressure release valve that keeps dealerships from completely collapsing under their own weight. And once a bike hits auction, it's out of the dealer's hands forever. No more stress, no more interest payments, just a hard loss, written off and buried like last season's bad haircut. How overproduction backfires. While dealerships are sweating bullets trying to move unsold bikes, let's not forget the puppet masters pulling the strings behind the scenes, the manufacturers. They're the ones calling the production shots, and when they miss the mark, the entire industry feels the tremors. And make no mistake, overproduction is the industry's equivalent of shooting yourself in both feet, and then asking the dealer to limp it off. During the pandemic, factories were in full panic mode. Demand tanked, so they hit the brakes. Furloughs, slowdowns, canceled orders, the works. But just when they thought the market was flatlining, it bounced back like a kangaroo on energy drinks. Suddenly, everyone and their mama wanted a motorcycle. Free time, stimulus checks, cabin fever, motorcycles looked like the ultimate socially distanced adventure. So the manufacturers did what any corporation riding a sugar high would do. They cranked production into overdrive. Problem was, by the time these bikes actually rolled off the line, reality had changed again. Interest rates skyrocketed, inflation kicked buyers in the wallet, and that red-hot demand? Gone. Just like that, warehouses were stacked with motorcycles that felt about as timely as a fidget spinner in 2025. And now the factories are stuck. Some tried to warehouse the excess inventory, but that's a losing game. Storage isn't free, and when each unit costs thousands to build, letting it gather dust in a facility somewhere just burns money faster than a burnout competition. Others started quietly redirecting bikes overseas, shipping mid-weight cruisers to markets like Southeast Asia or South America, where the styling still plays and buyers are eager. It helps, but navigating international shipping, tariffs, and regulation headaches is like trying to teach a Grom to do highway pulls. It's possible, but barely worth the effort. Then there are the factory fire sales, the behind-the-scenes panic discounts. Some manufacturers, desperate to move entire model lines, offered wild dealer incentives. One Japanese brand literally handed dealers $2,000 per unit, plus covered their floor plan interest just to unload a backlog of sport tours nobody in North America wanted anymore. That's not marketing, that's begging. And when all that fails, well, here's the grim finale: scrapping. Yup, if a bike's too dated, too niche, or just too embarrassing to push into the public eye, some manufacturers opt to cut their losses entirely. They salvage what they can, electronics, engines, anything worth keeping, and destroy the rest. Think fashion brands burning unsold clothes, except with 500-pound motorcycles getting disassembled like expired tech. Of course, all of this creates massive tension between manufacturers and their dealers. You've got factory reps showing up to dealerships with smiles and spreadsheets, trying to explain why a store in Nebraska needs 8 more adventure bikes when they haven't sold the last 5. The dealers are expected to take on more inventory because of bad forecasting, while the manufacturers sit back like it's not their mess. Thankfully, a few brands are starting to wise up. Triumph is experimenting with demand-based production instead of flooding dealers with fixed shipments. Ducati's mastered the art of artificial scarcity, making every new model feel like a limited edition piece. And brands like Indian are pushing factory direct orders, allowing customers to build exactly what they want, while dealers carry less risky floor inventory. But what many others are still stuck in is the old school churn and burn model. They overbuild, overpromise, and overload their dealers, leaving everyone downstream to clean up the mess. When manufacturers misfire, it's not just bad business, it's a system-wide migraine, and the fallout hits dealers first, buyers second, and entire communities third. How to spot and score the best deals. If there's one silver lining to this whole motorcycle inventory mess, it's this. Right now, it's an absolute buffet for buyers. We're not talking slightly better than usual deals. We're talking full-blown dealership on its knees, please take this off our hands type offers. If you've been holding off on buying a bike, now's your moment. It's like Black Friday but with engine rumble and zero trampling. You just have to know what to look for. Start by eyeing non-current models. If you see a 2023 bike sitting next to the brand new 2025 version, congratulations, you've just found a prime target. That old bike might be brand new in every meaningful way, but to the dealer, it's now radioactive. They want it gone. It's eating interest, collecting dust, and making the newer models look too expensive. Dealers will bend over backward to move it. Next, pay attention to stacked incentives. If you're seeing $1,000 factory rebates plus 0% financing plus free accessories or gear thrown in, that's not marketing fluff. That's a distress signal. That's the dealership equivalent of waving a white flag while holding a gift basket. Then there's the demo and loaner bikes, the sweet spot of the buyer's market. These are the ones with a few hundred miles on the clock, still smell new, still come with full warranties, and are priced thousands below MSRP, just because they've technically been used. For instance, you can pick up a street triple that has 340 miles on it and save $2,700 compared to the same model sitting untouched 5 feet away. Same bike, same warranty, and way less money. That's what you call a win. Also, timing matters more than you'd think. The best time to buy is when the dealer is most nervous. That's typically late fall and winter when riding season winds down and floor plan costs keep stacking up. If they're staring at 6 months of low foot traffic and a row of unsold models, your lowball offer suddenly starts looking very reasonable. And don't be shy with those offers. Most people are afraid to negotiate, but in this market, dealers expect it. They'd rather make a small profit or even take a slight loss than keep paying interest on a bike that's just sitting there like an expensive statue. But here's the kicker, this window won't stay open forever. Manufacturers are already scaling back production. Dealers are gradually clearing out the old inventory. That ridiculous leverage you have as a buyer right now, it's temporary. So if you've been eyeing a bike, stop hesitating. Now's the time to pounce. While the industry is still figuring itself out, you can ride off with the deal of the year. The industry's quiet revolution. As the traditional buy it and keep it model struggles under the weight of bloated inventory and shifting consumer habits, a quiet revolution is bubbling up in the background, and it's not just a patch, it might be the future of motorcycle ownership. Enter the age of flexibility. For starters, subscription-based riding is gaining serious traction. Think of it like Netflix, but for motorcycles. Companies like Twisted Road and Riders Share now offer monthly plans where you can ride different bikes on demand. No long-term commitment, no massive down payment, and no need to explain to your partner why there's a second motorcycle in the garage again. Just pay monthly, swap when you're bored, and enjoy the road. It's perfect for newer riders who want to try different styles before settling down, or seasoned veterans who want to change without the strings attached. And then there's short-term leasing, which was unheard of in the motorcycle world just a few years ago. Now, some manufacturers are experimenting with 6 to 12-month lease programs, especially for models they overproduced. It's a win-win. Customers get flexibility and a lower entry cost, while dealers get to move units that would otherwise be showroom paperweights. Even demo-to-own programs are becoming a thing. Picture this, you test ride a bike for a few weeks, fall in love with it, and decide to buy it. And here's the kicker. The money you paid for the demo period goes toward your purchase. It's like dating a bike before proposing, without wasting anyone's time. But perhaps the biggest shift is coming from the top down, factory direct ordering. Brands like Indian are leading the charge, letting customers build exactly what they want: paint, accessories, packages, and shipping the bike straight to the dealership. It means fewer unsold bikes on the floor, less pressure on the dealer, and you get the exact setup you dreamed of. No more "it's perfect except I hate the color" compromises. What's driving this evolution is a new kind of rider. Today's buyers aren't necessarily looking for a forever bike, they're chasing experiences. Just like we upgrade our phones every 2 years and bounce between apartment leases, a lot of riders now see motorcycles the same way: fun, fluid, and flexible. And the industry's slowly catching on. For dealerships and manufacturers, these models help soften the blow of overproduction. Fewer bikes sitting unsold, more predictable revenue, happier customers. It's a smarter, leaner system, one that might just save the industry from drowning in its own inventory. So yeah, the motorcycle world is changing. Ownership is no longer one size fits all. Whether you're into full ownership, pay as you go, or riding a new bike every few months, there's a model for you. And in a market still trying to recover from its own chaos, that kind of flexibility isn't just welcome, it might be necessary for survival. Behind the desperation. It's easy for us to talk about unsold bikes and price drops like it's just numbers on a spreadsheet, but behind every dusty motorcycle is a real person feeling the pain. Sales reps watch their commissions evaporate as discounts stack up. That bike they would have made $700 on last month, now it's down to $150, maybe. Service techs who rely on new bike sales to bring in setup work and accessory installs get fewer hours. And in smaller mom and pop shops, one slow quarter can mean cutting hours or even letting people go. This stuff hits harder than people think. It's not just a business issue, it's personal. Dealer incentives you never see. If you've ever haggled hard for a deal or walked away thinking, man, I must have squeezed that guy dry, don't get too cocky. Chances are the dealer still made money, and not in the way you think. See, the real game isn't just about MSRP, it's about the hidden money behind the scenes. Let's start with one of the juiciest tricks in the book, stair-step bonuses. These are sales targets set by manufacturers that basically turn dealerships into contestants on a game show. Sell X number of bikes in a month or a quarter, and the dealer unlocks a fat bonus, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. That means if a shop has sold 18 bikes and the bonus kicks in at 2, those last 2 sales are crucial. They'll take a hit on the profit, even go underwater on the deal, because the reward for reaching that target is worth way more than losing a few bucks on 1 or 2 units. Then there's holdback. This is when the manufacturer gives the dealer a little bonus back, usually 2 to 3% of the bike's MSRP after the sale is finalized. So you can negotiate a price that looks like it's at the dealer's cost, and they're still walking away with a secret margin. All of this means that the price on the tag isn't the full story, not even close. Dealers work off a complex matrix of manufacturer incentives, volume goals, and timing bonuses. That's why things can shift so fast. One week, they turn down your offer like it's an insult. A few days later, suddenly it's, you know what, we can do that. What changed? Probably not your offer, just the math behind it. And here's the pro tip. Timing is everything. Shopping at the end of the month, the end of the quarter, or especially in December when yearly bonuses are on the line, can open up discounts that aren't even possible earlier in the year. That same dealer who stiff-armed your $9,000 offer in mid-July might gladly take it on December 30th, because that sale could be the difference between getting a fat bonus or walking into New Year's broke and bitter. So yeah, when it comes to dealer incentives, the real deal isn't always the one you see, it's the one you don't. And the savviest buyers are the ones who know how to play along. Conclusion. At the end of the day, even the loneliest bike in the back of the showroom eventually finds its rider. It might take a couple price drops, a few hundred demo miles, or even a ride through the auction circuit, but nearly every motorcycle gets where it's meant to go. And that's the weird beauty of this whole messy situation. For all the overproduction, shady tricks, and financial pressure, these machines still fulfill their purpose. They roll out, get ridden, and create memories. The business part may be complicated, but the ride, that's still pure. So if you're shopping for a motorcycle right now, congrats, you're stepping into one of the best buyer's markets in years. Just remember, the dealers aren't just selling bikes, they're trying to stay afloat. And with a little timing, a bit of knowledge, and a well-placed offer, you might just walk away with the deal of a lifetime, and one hell of a story to go with it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. See you in the next video.